We are from group 44. Our case study about the Deepwater Horizon disaster. My name is Azizul Hakim, and I am major in mechanical engineering.
Hi, this is Ronnie Paul. My major is environmental engineering.
Yeah, myself, Said. I'm from electrical engineering.
Hi, my name is Ridwan Sharafaddin. I major in geomatics engineering.
Yeah, the deepwater horizon explosion occurred in April 2010 while BP was drilling the Macondo well in the Gulf of Mexico. The rig, which was owned by Transocean, suffered a catastrophic blowout that caused an explosion and fire on board. Unfortunately, 11 workers lost their lives and millions of barrels of crude oil spilled in the ocean over a 7 day period, making it large marine oil spill in the US, according to US EPA 2023. This disaster severely affected marine ecosystem, wildlife, and coastal economies across Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration (NOAA) 2022. The spill also disrupted local fishing and tourism industries and caused long-term environmental degradation. Subsequent investigation found that several engineering and management failures contributed to the incident, including flawed well design, inadequate safety testing, and poor decision-making driven by cost and time pressure.
One of the most significant environmental accidents in modern history. It occurred on April 20th, 2010 in the Gulf of Mexico, resulting from an ultra-deepwater operation. The event was a catastrophic well blowout that led to immediate explosion and sinking of the massive drilling rig. Tragically, 11 workers were killed. The environmental disaster began instantly, with the uncapped well releasing an estimated 3.1 million barrels of crude oil into the Gulf over a continuous 87-day period of immediately creating a major crisis. How did this happen? The disaster resulted from a critical chain of events driven by ethical and managerial shortcuts. BP and its contractor aggressively prioritized cost and schedule, leading to safety and protocol being rushed or skipped. This was an ethical failure where corporate saving superseded human and environmental safety. Key warning signs such as abnormal pressure reading were ignored. Crucially, the result of the negative pressure test, essential for confirming the well's seal, were misinterpreted by managers aiming to finish quickly. This poor judgment set the stage of the final failure, the blowout preventer or BOP, due to design flaws and lack of redundancy. The fallout from the spill was massive and long-lasting. Environmentally, the oil slick covered an astonishing 43,000 square miles, causing severe long-term harm to marine life and, most critical, and the fragile Gulf Coast. Economically, the disaster crippled the region's coal, fisheries, and tourism, leading to billions of dollars in losses. The legal response was unprecedented. BP paid over $20.8 billion in civil settlement and fines, the largest environmental penalty in US history. Crucially, the disaster forced significant regulatory reform, leading to establishment of Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement (BSEE) to strengthen oversight. In summary, the Deepwater Horizon case remains a powerful lesson in engineering ethics, underscoring the professionalism.
Now I'm going to explain about the ethical dilemma of Deepwater Horizon explosion in the Gulf of Mexico. One thing that I want to highlight here, the root cause of this disaster, actually a British Petroleum as a drilling contractor does not follow the procedure and they are prioritizing money over safety. There is some ethical dilemma that we find out based on our research. The first one, British Petroleum BP engineer not aware and rushing the construction project completion. So responsible engineer will work on site not aware about the risks involved in the rushing project completion and skip the process of cement bond of testing. So as we know that this kind of testing is very important to ensure the integrity of the cement. So the cement itself that was used to seal the well was unstable and leak, so allowing the oil and gas to seep up to the drilling surface. And the second unethical issue that we find out is that the BP management had been known to reviews spend extra money. For example, engineering recommendation was use 21 centralizer drilling, but they only use 6 centralizer instead, which is a very low number and they supposed to be. The function of centralizer itself is to keep well casing center within the borehole. So you can see from the picture example of centralizer and also the example of the cement well rig. So we can conclude that the centralizer hold a very important roles in this case along with cement well rig as well. But we believe that the responsible engineer on site work under high pressure from BP management. So they do not brave enough against their own management. So my point here is that regardless how tempting it might seem, engineer must never compromise their professional principle by agreeing any contract that could have negative consequences. And the company, like a BP management, have to take engineer recommendation to account. So here is the root problems. Actually, it's a lies in the ethics at British Petroleum, both individuals and organization levels. So if you are not following the procedure, you have to be ready with any consequences. And we also find out the BP clearly violate the oil industry safety standard and procedure.
Hi, my part of the presentation focus on three discussion questions that connect the deepwater horizon disaster to engineering ethics principle. So let's take on the quicker three questions. First question: how did BP and Transocean decision violates the ethical principle? In this case, both companies prioritize cost and efficiency over safety, even after engineers observe abnormal pressure reading. The second question asks the should engineers have prioritized professional integrity over corporate pressure? This question mainly highlights micro ethical duty of individual engineers to uphold honesty, transparency, and the courage to act when safety is at risk. The third question explores macro ethical failure, such as weak safety culture, poor communication, and also limited oversights that allowed the disaster to happen. This systematic flaw reminds us the ethical engineering extends uh, beyond individual action to organizational responsibilities. Okay, I want to mainly focus on the second question, which is should engineers have prioritized professional due integrity? Yes, they must have to prioritize it. According to the Engineers Conduct Code of Ethics, engineers must hold parameter the safety, health, and welfare of the public. Ignoring abnormal pressure data violates the duty. So, before concluding, the key lesson is that engineering ethics is not about the rules; it's about the moral courage.